echo these comments that we have ambitions and goals to increase our use of sustainable aviation fuels. We need it produced on the scale that will support this industry, and we look forward to partnering with you and Congress on that.
Good. Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to start off where Senator Thune started off with regard to the need for additional pilots. In my home state of Wisconsin, we have a lot of small communities that are served by regional aircraft, and Mr. Kirby, a United Express air carrier, Air Wisconsin, is based in our state. They fly the 50-seat aircraft, and statements that you made last month at the Skift Aviation Forum about markets that rely on these 50-seaters greatly concerned me, as you can imagine. Now, I'm working on legislation that would make flight education and training programs more accessible to a broader range of students, precisely by increasing the amount of student loan aid available for individuals who are enrolled in an accredited program, all to ensure that we're going to have a strong pipeline of pilots to fly to small communities and everywhere that travelers want to go. So I know there's a counterpart that's been introduced in the House of Representatives. We're just trying to put the final touches on it right now for Senate introduction. But would you agree that such a proposal would encourage more people to become pilots? And what more is United doing to recruit and retain pilots?
Yeah, well, thank you, Senator. And for what it's worth, some of those markets are going to get upgauged to bigger airplanes, but small cities that are entirely reliant on 50-seat service are at risk unless we create a bigger supply of pilots. So I apologize, I'm not familiar with the specifics of your bill, but the idea of increasing the supply of pilots is really important, and the government has a huge role to play in helping us do that. At United, we've tried our self-help measure of using our Aviate Academy as a way, and we intend to train 500 new pilots a year. It's not just about creating the next generation of pilots. It's a safer program. It's much more like UPT, going to pilot training at the Air Force or the Navy, where you learn not just to fly, you fly aerobatics, you fly in complicated airspace. It improves diversity, so there's a lot of great things we can do. But there's a real opportunity for this, and these are great careers. I mean, a captain at United Airlines, and we have over 200 wide-body airplanes. The captains on those airplanes make $400,000 a year with great benefits. I mean, there's not many careers left like that in the United States. So we just need to help people get onto the first rung of the ladder, get through the rigorous training process so they have enough certification to start at an airline, and then they can make their careers. But we are all on board with doing anything we can to increase that supply and to help do that.
Great. I want to switch focuses now to one area where I think the industry has a great opportunity to emerge from the pandemic much better than before, and that is the topic of travel for individuals with disabilities. I recognize that air travel has been anything but normal since the early days of COVID-19, but in looking at disability-related complaints filed with the Department of Transportation, there seems to have been a significant increase in complaints filed in 2021 as compared to 2018. And so a question for each of you to answer, what is your airline doing to address disability-related complaints? And why don't we start with you, Mr. Parker?
Thank you. Look, it's certainly an issue that we are working very hard to address. It's a difficult situation on aircraft, of course, and it has been. We are all working very hard to do everything we possibly can. Interested in working and continuing to work with you on other things that might be done. We at American, for example, while we know we're not doing as well as we can, we are encouraged by the fact that the number of due to a lot of effort, the number of wheelchair damages that we've had are down 40% over the last year. So again, not by no means are where we need to be, but we are intensely focused on being the best we can in this regard.
Mr. Kelly?
I think here in the short term, our primary focus is on wheelchairs, training, in reducing the damage, and also working with wheelchair manufacturers to see what can be done to harden wheelchairs. They're just not built to be loaded into aircraft bins and transported. So I think there's opportunities there, and like Doug reported, we're definitely seeing our claims coming down, which is obviously very welcome. More futuristic, we're working with the manufacturers or intend to work with the manufacturers in terms of bathroom access on board the airplane, which is obviously a big challenge, and especially on narrow-body airplanes. But those are the two primary things that we're working on.
Mr. Kirby?
We also have been it's a high priority for us and focused on wheelchairs and have had a significant reduction in wheelchair damages, wheelchair complaints. Like Gary said, it's tough because the wheelchairs just aren't built. In spite of that, we're focused very hard on that. We're doing a lot of other things for people with disabilities. We're the first airline, for example, to get our website and our app for blind, if you're blind, for the visually impaired to be able to use it. There's a lot of things like that. We have a whole team, and I coincidentally met with that team this past week on all the things we can do to improve the world for disabled, and a passionate group, because most of them, it's personal. They're either disabled themselves or have family members that are disabled. And having a team like that to advocate for it, is probably one of the best things that we can do internally to make sure we drive the kinds of changes, identify what the issues are, and then drive change.
Mr. Lauder?
Senator, I would add that wheelchairs and assistive devices are a focus for Delta, and we certainly are working towards zero. That's our goal. We've also created an advisory board on disability, which is made up of Delta customers who volunteer their time from the disability community and to help us throughout the travel ribbon make travel more accessible.
Great. Thank you for your indulgence. I will submit one additional question for the record, just relating to the fact that in airports, people with disabilities often rely on folks that you've contracted with to help with mobility in the airports, and I have some specific questions about that.
Thank you. Senator Moran.
Chairwoman, thank you very much. Thanks to our panelists for being here.